welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus. Want to thank you for joining us on this beautiful sunny day. Temperatures in the mid-70s outside, a light breeze out of the south, and supposed to make it up to
wrong radio station, buddy.
Oh, shoot, that's right. Okay, man, sorry about that. Yeah, we're all wishing for that kind of weather, that's for sure. We've got bands of moderate to heavy snow pushing across the area. We've already picked up 2 to 4 inches of snow from Hankinson to Wahpeton. We've picked up about close to about 1.5 inches to 2 inches here at the station, and we continue to see moderate to heavy bands of snow continuing as moving in from the south, and that will continue to be the case. So, yeah, prepare for that. We are looking at a blizzard warning, although we haven't seen any blizzard conditions yet. That will develop as temperatures drop. Road conditions become a little more icy. Winds pick up as well. We haven't seen the winds really develop with this storm. So when that does occur later tonight and into the day on Wednesday, that's when conditions really start to go downhill. We'll have fresh snow on the ground with falling snow, and I'm assuming interstates are going to probably they'll be closed later tonight, I'm sure, as those conditions go downhill. So far, though, temperatures right around freezing, so the main roadways don't look too bad. There are
go south of Fargo, because we're already no travel advised down there. So I'd say that's changing fast.
In the far southern valley, and that's where they've picked up more of the snow. And that, again, is all spreading north. So as we go towards evening, that's when we're going to see conditions rapidly deteriorate. So, yeah, if you have any errands to run, I'd get them done soon because, like I said, once we hit dark, I'm sure some of those interstates are going to start being closed. That's for sure. Isn't this great, guys? This is just, it's just fantastic.
You know, I was saying I just want one more big storm.
Well, you got your wish. You got your wish. Thanks a lot, Justin. Appreciate it.
Good little snowmaker.
Yeah, man.
I can put the trenches back in the driveway.
So, yeah, blizzard warnings officially in effect all the way through tomorrow. So if you don't have to travel, it's a good idea to stay home. It's just it's not going to get any better. It's just going to get worse as the day and nighttime hours go on. And make sure if you have to go out to have that winter weather survival kit packed in your vehicle. And we all know the drill, but you know it's late in the season, and this is getting old. We need the moisture. I mean, but I think we're about okay with the moisture as we head towards spring. The last thing we want is a rapid warm up, and thankfully we don't see that. But as we were alluding to earlier today, according to the LRC, we've got 2 more systems this month now. One of those, you know, hoping both of those are going to be rain, but and if it is rain, let's hope that it's not a heavy rain, because that's the last thing we need is a rapid warm up with heavy rain on top of the snowpack. We want that gentle melt off, which much of next week looks pretty quiet with temperatures in the 40s to near 50s. So that will help kind of slowly melt this away.
Well, speaking of that, okay, so the guys in the control room there have a video queued up, and I'm going to ask them to put that up for the live stream. And this is a video shot that came in from up by Hillsboro yesterday. And you can see in this shovel full of soil that was brought up, first of all, there's no frost. Second of all, I can describe to those who are listening, this is a farmer brought the shovel full up. Literally, it's only 1 scoop deep, so it's not very deep. And he is breaking up those soil clods with his hand, and they are crumbling. A lot of clay content in that soil, not muddy, not wet. So we know that without a frost, we've seen a lot of our snow melt slowly going into the ground underneath our snowbanks, etc. And I think this is probably going to continue. I was asked, where did this video come from? And I didn't get an exact answer, but by the looks of it, I bet there was a piece of equipment that got moved and there was bare ground underneath it because there hadn't been snow on top. Mm-hmm. So it's very possible that, you know, we're not super saturated yet, and we're just going to wait and see what things look like. But we do have, I just spoke with someone in the southern end of the Red River Valley earlier today, and they were happy to take in moisture. So hopefully we don't see as much flooding potential, et cetera, because we have room to take a lot of that moisture into our subsoil.
Right. And it looks like we're probably going to pick up throughout the valley from Grand Forks all the way down through Wahpeton. Probably about 10 to 12 inches. It will be a good, just rough estimate up and down the valley. 10 to 12 inches with some spots possibly a little bit more, and then even higher amounts just west of the valley where about 12 to 15 inches may fall. So, and again, you get banding of this snow, and we could be looking at more than a foot up and down the valley. So, but I think a general 10 to 12 inches with lesser amounts in Lakes Country and slightly higher to our west is a pretty good bet. And let's hope we don't have to up those totals any from where they're at right now. It's just it's
going to equal to about an additional inch to inch and a half of liquid water
liquid
equivalents to the about 5 inches of moisture we've picked up so far in the winter from snowfall. So we'll probably round out, over the next couple days, 6 to 6.5 inches of liquid equivalents for the winter as a whole.
That's not bad. That's not, and especially with
it could be a lot higher.
It could, yeah, no doubt about it. And then, like Bridget was saying, the frost depth isn't that deep, so a lot of this is going to sink in. And according to the LRC, this doesn't look like a dry spring. This looks like we'll have ample moisture for our ag community, and even into the summer, we're not looking for drought conditions. So that's a good thing. We just don't want the flooding as we make that transition. And so far, don't see it being a huge problem. And again, this month will tell the tale. If we get a couple of those big storms that produce rainmakers, we could have some major flooding around here. But fingers crossed that those storm systems that do roll through, the next two on the LRC calendar, come through in a wet fashion, but not overly wet in terms of rain.
Right. They can be slow, steady fall, and not an exorbitant amount of volume. How does that sound?
That sounds good. And not snow? Man, that'd be even better.
I think there's a lot of people that would say not snow.
Yeah.
Apparently, folks, it's too bad I'm too short for my screen, because apparently folks on the East Coast feel sorry for us. I got a shirt from a Twitter follower. It's from the Lippy Brothers Farm in Maryland, and they said maybe a short sleeve shirt will help you feel like springtime. So I appreciate folks looking out for us.
And again, look at the bright side. It's April. Once that sun does come out in a couple of days, that April sun, it's quite strong. So it will start to melt this quicker than you think. This isn't like a 12-inch snow that we're going to get in February. This won't last long. But while it's here, it's going to pose some problems over the next 24 to 36 hours. So just kind of keep that in mind. And again, if you don't have to travel anywhere, probably a good idea just to stay put.
Speaking of it not sticking around too long, what's that temperature outlook once we get past these next couple days for our weekend and next week?
Yeah, we're looking at temperatures around 40 for this weekend, and even as we head into next week, we're looking at temperatures in the 40s to near 50. So, hey, I mean, that's not bad. We don't want that rapid 60s and 70s. That would be the problem with when it comes to flooding, along with any chance for heavy rain. So, let's keep it like it is. 40s we can handle. A few low 50s we can handle as well. But again, we'll be keeping a close eye on the LRC and what those next two storms will bring, because again, I would not rule out one more snow event, but I think it'll be mainly rain, the way it looks right now.
Right. We just had a email commenter said, looks like the Easter Bunny is going to be leaving muddy tracks in everyone's house.
Right, exactly.
And if you want to join in on this conversation, reach us, comment via email or phone call. You can reach us on the Red Wing Studio phone line at 701-293-9000 or by email during or after our show at weather@flagfamily.com or ag@flagfamily.com. Also, remember, we live stream every single day on Facebook and YouTube, as well as Acres TV. Now, before we get into our upcoming segment, why don't we hit an ag topic here really quick? You guys down for that?
I'm ready to roll.
All right. Well,
what do you want to know,
let's hit one from yesterday. Let's do a little catch up, so that way we're all caught up for the week, minus the 12 we didn't get to last week. But PepsiCo investments in farming organizations and why?
Okay, so what do you guys know about PepsiCo as a company? Any ideas?
It's a soda, right?
It's part of it.
Sort of.
They make the Pepsi Cola.
They are the largest food and beverage company in North America, second largest globally, actually. And they've decided to
Wow.
spend some dollars to the tune of just over 200 million. And they're going to do that to make some strategic partnerships with the Illinois Corn Growers Association, the Practical Farmers of Iowa, and the Water Outcomes Fund, the Soil and Water Outcomes Fund. Here's why. When you look at what's going on with carbon credit, greenhouse gas emissions, etc., major manufacturers want to find a way to reduce their carbon footprint. They're willing to partner with farmers in order to help provide more education and information about carbon capture, regenerative farming, in order for the farmers to capture more carbon so that companies like PepsiCo, et cetera, can reduce their footprint, but they're going to rely on the farm level to do a lot of that for them. So it works its way upward if you have watched those reductions happen on farm and then those products move forward into processing with PepsiCo. It helps overall, but this is just one more example of things that are being done by large companies in order to try to change what's going on with their greenhouse gas emissions, and they're doing it more at the farm level. And just to make a little bit of a definition for us, and that's going to jump us ahead slightly in our headlines, Justin, the fact that when we talk about these carbon markets, an inset, so a carbon inset reduction, that reduces the emissions on the farm based on how the grain was grown, cattle were raised, etc. But the offsets, carbon offsets happen, they compensate for emissions elsewhere. So PepsiCo wants an offset, but they want it to be done via an inset on the farm. How's that sound? Make sense?
It's interesting.
Any at all?
It does.
Okay.
A little bit.
Good.
Just enough.
Okay. And I will tell
Well,
you that these discussions are going to get
Mhm.
bigger and deeper as we go on. Lots more to come regarding that as far as carbon credits and so forth. We'll be talking about a lot more over the next few months, especially as we get our hands dirty with our 20 acres of soybeans and what we're going to be doing with them. So joining us to help even have some of that conversation will be our guest today. She's going to join us in just a few moments. That's Betsy Jensen. She's in northern Minnesota. She is a farm and ranch expert. She and her husband also farm, have a seed company. They have a lot of things going on, but I bet Betsy's going to be really helpful at helping us understand how are we going to make money on 20 acres of soybeans, guys, after our big announcement yesterday. Any ideas?
By getting record bushels.
that might be part of it. So we'll find out when Betsy joins us. We'll be back right after this.
It's Jay and Ronnie from the Coffee Club, and we are taking the show on the road. We're going to Sweet Shots Thursday, where it's the master headquarters for the tournament.
Sponsored by Michelob Ultra, the show will be live until 11 a.m., and then Sweet Shots opens for all the live coverage of the Masters, including Masters food.
Enjoy specialty foods they have at the Masters, like the famous pimento and cheese sandwiches.
That's Sweet Shots in Fargo, brought to you by Michelob Ultra, Thursday, April 6th.
A little slice of the country, still close enough to the city. A quick 30-minute drive north of Fargo will have you living the life on a beautiful 10 acres. This property checks all the boxes. Rows of gorgeous mature trees. Check. 3 bedrooms, 2 bath. Check. Large metal outbuilding and hay barn. Check. Did someone say chickens? Check. Check. Schedule your showing today at nancykellyrealty.com or dial 701-306-0486.
You've heard of the saying, out with the old and in with the new. Hi, Teresa here from the Fargo Red Wing Shoe Store. Have you been hanging on to those tired old Red Wing boots that no longer give you the comfort and support that you need or deserve? Why wait? Stop in and see our certified fit specialist and get you a brand new pair of boots. Believe it or not, feet change over time. So let us use the newest technology to help you find the best fitting boots. 3003 Main Avenue in Fargo, Red Wing Shoes for ultimate durability.
Plains Grain and Agronomy has an opening for a precision ag technician, assisting the precision ag manager in the sales, setup, and programming of farm equipment. The candidate will work with custom application equipment and assist growers in troubleshooting equipment purchased. A knowledge of farming and a knowledge of John Deere controllers is helpful. Applications are available at plainsgrain.com and click on Careers. That's plainsgrain.com and click on Careers.
Would you enjoy having 3 hot meals a day? Someone did your dishes, laundry, and helped manage your health concerns. For over 125 years, the Veterans Home has been providing quality care for veterans and their spouses. You were there for us. Now let us be there for you. Call us at 701-683-6500 or visit ndvh.nd.gov.
This ad is sponsored by the North Dakota Cares Coalition and aired in cooperation with the North Dakota Broadcasters Association and this station.
And welcome to WDAY Weather and Ag in Focus. I'm Bridget Riedel, Ag Director, joined by the guys in all their glory on a storm day today. That would be Justin Storm, meteorologist extraordinaire, and Dean Wysocki, chief meteorologist. And you're right, Dean, you're still on the bottom of the pile. I'm introducing Justin first these days because you just got back.
Yeah, no.
You had all that time in Arizona, living it up. We're going to make you wallow in that for a while.
Okay, great.
Our guest today is Betsy Jensen. Betsy is in northern Minnesota. I refer to her as she can actually teach you how to make money with grain, whereas I'm always trying to kill stuff in your grain. So we're on opposite ends of the spectrum with what we do. So Betsy, would you please go ahead and introduce yourself and all the fabulous things that you do?
Well, of course I will. So Betsy Jensen. I'm up here in northwest Minnesota, Stephen, Minnesota, actually today. I was supposed to be on campus. I work for Northland College. And with the weather, I decided not to gamble. So I stayed close to home today. So we have a seed company. So we're currently cleaning barley out there, I believe. And I work with farmers for farm management. Farmers excel at producing, but sometimes their record keeping, their crop marketing needs a little bit of assistance, and that's where I come in and try to help them make some educated decisions.
Okay, that was going to be a big topic of conversation today, is when it comes to farm management. Okay, let's dive into that just a little bit deeper. So do your growers come in and they literally bring their books and say, here's what I'm doing, what can I do better? Does that sound about right?
It does. Well, Bridget, you assume that they have books. So step one, make sure they have records and accurate records. So we got to back up this train a little bit. And some of them have shoe boxes, I see it all. And so we take their records, and one of the things we do is benchmark them. And so against, like, for example, this year, I think we have 381 farms in our northern Minnesota, like Northland College has 381 farms in their database. So what we're looking for is how are they compared to everybody else? How much did you spend on chemical, on labor, on overhead interest, on operating interest? All those things we want to see.
So do you literally operate like helping out their banker, being able to say, here's your profit and loss? Do you go with them to make those banking decisions? I mean, you have great advice. I've listened to you talk about grain marketing, and I think I just take you with me to the bank.
Yeah, so I am in contact with many bankers quite often, and we are an educational program. I cannot make a decision for the farmers. Sometimes I really want to make a decision. Sometimes I want to shake them loose. Sometimes I get a little, I question their judgment, but it's not my decisions to make. I just lay out the numbers, benchmark them against everybody else, and they make their own decisions. I do meet with farmers and their bankers. If that we go back to that question, yes, I often go to the office with the farmer and their lender and try to help them out.
And Betsy, would you?
Okay, that's going to help.
Yeah. Do you find more of the I hate to say elderly farmer opposed to the younger generation, but is it more the younger generation or the older generation that is coming for your assistance, or a mixture of both?
Oh, I have a mixture of both. We have, I think my oldest farmer just dropped out last year. He was 74. And then we often get farmers in their first couple of years of farming. One of the things, the Farm Service Agency, if they are getting a beginning farmer loan, sometimes they are required to work with us so that they understand what's going on. So I have farmers in their first year. I got second generations in my program. I worked with their dads. Now I work with the kids. So we farm management this year, we are celebrating our 70th anniversary in Minnesota. 70 years of farm management in Minnesota.
See, all of us here, we're going to be that first year farmer. We just got 20 acres of land and we're going to start farming this summer and we're going to see how it goes. But tips, advice, you said, keep books. It's probably something we should probably do. What do we need to know when it comes to keeping track of this information so that way we can, better get a profit off of 20 acres?
Okay, so it's going to be a bit of a challenge with 20 acres. So one of the, we do have a lot of, in Minnesota, we have a specialty crops guy, but he's working with things like garlic and orchards. But one of the things in farm management, if we benchmark you, for example, how much fertilizer did you put on, how much chemical, what did you spend on seed, those are numbers you need to know and that we can compare. So for example, on my farm, since I'm farm management, I make my husband enterprise by field. We look at every field individually. How much seed did we put on this field? How much fertilizer did we put on this field? A lot of my farmers just do soybeans all together, wheat all together. And so we got into a bit of a fight this year about how much we spent on a certain variety of soybeans. And we're kind of questioning, is it worth it this year to plant that variety? They cost quite a bit more. Do we see the returns from it? It was kind of a shock when we plugged it in on a per acre basis.
I bet it was, because you're right. If you're not looking at it in an individual field, how do you know if you're getting everything you need out of it for fertilizer? Are you spending more money out there for fuel? If you're doing additional tillage, all those types of things. And those are numbers that not everybody is very good at. That's excellent to know.
And one of the things we're doing now in Minnesota too is a lot of cover crop and no-till, trying to analyze that. And those numbers are significantly different. Those costs are significantly different. And we do have some special sorts in our database. Minnesota, there is a database out there. It's called FinBin. And we plug in all our numbers into FinBin, and you can go in and query for many different things. And so what we want to do is make Minnesota, and actually North Dakota has a farm management program as well. We want to make every farm as profitable as possible. That is our goal.
So I got a question here. I want to back up a little bit to when you were talking about that variety of soybean that you had, and you're like, after running the numbers on each field, I don't know if we're gonna, make the most money on this year. Maybe we hold off and do something different. What goes into that would make it change from year to year to where maybe, all right, let's not do it this year with this seed, let's hang on to it and let's do it next year because we'll probably get a better profit for it? Does that just come down to what the price of the fertilizers, the herbicides cost this year compared to maybe years in past, or is the weather playing a factor in that, or the composition of the soil? Could you go into a little more depth on that?
Sure. So one of the reasons we probably had a high cost for that soybean seed is because it was pretty wet last spring, and we did some of that, I'm going to call it drunk seeding, where you circle around all the potholes, and there were no straight rows. You just kind of, where can we put this seed today? Let's avoid this edge of the field. And so it looks like somebody was drinking while they were seeding, when realistically that's just what we had to do. And so there was some overlap in the field as well. It wasn't as perfect of a seeding as a rate as it could have been. And so one of the things we look at, especially in farm management, is 1 year enough data to make a decision. And that's something we really have to look at. Do we think that this is something that will be repeated next year, or is it a one and done situation? And that's something that you kind of have to decide on your own. So we are going to plant that variety again this year. We did cut back acres a little bit of it. We're not going to go quite as heavy into that. And hopefully this year the numbers look a little better.
Right. We hope so too. And we're hoping the same for our own enterprise as well. So, all right, it is bottom of the hour. It is 1:30 in the afternoon. We will be right back as we continue our conversation with Betsy Jensen. Again, she is up by Stephen, Minnesota. We're talking farm business management and probably a little bit of what happens when your grain leaves your farm. Where does that go? And what does it mean when we talk about a grain exchange, et cetera? So we'll be right back.
News Talk Radio 970 WDAY. Hi, meteorologist Justin Storm. Every afternoon, my forecasts let you know how the afternoon weather is going to go and that all-important ride home from work. In all 4 seasons, that's the reason you listen. Weather changes fast, and I'll give you the current conditions as well as what the evening will look like so you can make decisions on the plans you've made. Don't forget Weather and Ag Radio every day at 1 p.m. right here on WDAY.
Dakota Valley Electric Cooperative knows it's tough out there. Please keep safety in mind as you go about clearing snow, especially when you're using heavy equipment. These big green boxes, enclosures, and transformers, they're energized with 7,200 volts of electricity. That's 30 times stronger than the voltage that powers your home or your farm shop. So please be careful to avoid damage to equipment, or even worse, catastrophic injury to yourself. Supporting safety on the air because they care are your friends at Dakota Valley Electric Cooperative.
You have reached the Prescription Drug Affordability Board. We are at lunch and unwilling to come to the phone right now. At-risk rural clinics can leave a message, but we don't like your chances of survival. Current wait times for breakthrough cancer and Alzheimer's drugs are never. They've been routed to states that value life-saving and life-extending cures. If you don't like it, we'd suggest you vote us out, but we are unelected bureaucrats. That means we do not care. We are the government, and we are bad at healthcare.
Legislation is under consideration in Minnesota that would create a Prescription Drug Affordability Board, a group of unelected political appointees that could decide to reimburse rural hospitals and clinics less for prescription drugs than the cost to acquire them. It puts access to rural healthcare at risk and should be opposed. Visit patientsnotbureaucrats.org for more information.
Paid for by Domestic Policy Caucus.
I can't wait for what's next. Even with higher stroke risk due to atrial fibrillation, an irregular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Eliquis, the Apixaban tablets, reduces stroke risk. It's the #1 cardiologist-prescribed blood thinner.
Don't stop taking prescription Eliquis without talking to your doctor, as this may increase your risk of stroke. Eliquis can cause serious and in rare cases fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or have antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. A spinal injection while on Eliquis increases risk of blood clots, which may cause paralysis, the inability to move. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding or unusual bruising, or if you have tingling, numbness, or muscle weakness. It may increase your bleeding risk if you take medicines such as aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
And welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. Thanks for rejoining us. 1:33 this afternoon. Visibility outside getting knocked down under a quarter mile right now. Wind is remaining light, but it will be picking up as we continue into this afternoon between 20 and 30 miles an hour. A blizzard warning is in effect, and that does stretch through Wednesday night into Thursday morning. We're rejoining our conversation now with Betsy Jensen. She's with Farm Business Management. And if you'd like to join in on this conversation, ask Betsy a question, feel free to do so on the Red Wings studio line. If you want to give us that phone call at 701-293-9000, we can get those questions answered, or you can always reach us via email during or after the show at weatherorag@flagfamily.com. And before we went to break, Bets, we were kind of talking a little bit about, or at least teasing up to, what happens to the grain once it's been harvested? Where does it go? And kind of talking a little bit about what grain trades are. Can you dive into that a little bit? What is the grain trade?
Yeah, so the grain trade. Let's talk about wheat, for example. If you guys drive by wheat fields, I'm assuming we see lots of wheat fields. Half of that wheat is exported, which I think we forget. I mean, the wheat I am harvesting in August, there's a 50% chance it's going to end up in the Philippines, Japan, Mexico. Actually, Africa is a large buyer of wheat. A lot of the countries within Africa. So it's amazing to think about what we produce in little Minnesota, North Dakota, ending up on the plates of somebody in the Philippines. And so I think we have to remember that we're a global firm. I mean, wheat is a global firm, and it's really amazing to think about that.
Is that huge. Because Yeah, is that because we just don't have enough use or demand within the United States so that half of it's going for exports, or are we just growing that much to where we cover all of our needs and we're just, sending it out everywhere else to where they need it too?
So the U.S., we export half of our wheat, half of our soybeans, and maybe about 15% of our corn. I mean, of course, those numbers are rounded. Every year is a little bit different. But we're a breadbasket for the world, and we are a reliable supplier. I think we've seen that especially in soybeans. South America is a very large producer of soybeans, but their reliability has kind of been a little tougher at times. Lots of shipping issues, lots of port delays. It really is a challenge for South America to be a reliable exporter. Brazil and Argentina have a few problems.
Right.
And so the US is a reliable place to go. If you need wheat, if you need soybeans, we're a great place to ask. Yeah.
So, okay, it leaves the farm. We took it to the elevator, we loaded up that grain, it headed on out. But there's something called the Minneapolis Grain Exchange. And to a lot of folks, we understand what it means when you physically sell that wheat, but now we're trading on paper, that type of thing. What did the grain exchange do? Because at one time they physically handled the grain as well, unlike the way things have been going now where we just ship it, all of the background happens electronically. I mean, just kind of see where I'm leading, Betsy. How did that history happen, and what are we doing differently these days versus what we used to do with Minneapolis or Chicago boards of wheat?
Sure. Well, before I answer that, did you know that I have a grain exchange table, Bridget? Did you know that I have one on
I
my
do.
farm? It's this.
But
I
you-
had to
but you
take a
literally-
wall off of. I took a wall
the
off of my
building.
office to get it in because it's that big of a table. So, my husband and I have a
Wow.
post-nuptial agreement. In the event of divorce, I will get the table. Because there's no way it can leave the farm. But it has changed how we trade grain somewhat. But the purpose of the Minneapolis Grain Exchange, the Chicago Board of Trade, has always been risk management for farmers. We go back to the 1800s when these exchanges were started. If you're a farmer in Stephen, Minnesota, you had no idea what you were going to receive for your wheat in September when you harvested it. It could have dropped $2 from when you planted it in the spring. And so there was a desire from both buyers and producers that we want something more reliable. We want a way to lock in prices. We want a way of risk management. Now, there is there used to be a lot more physical trade of grain going through Minneapolis. Now it's paper, but there is still a way of risk protection for farmers and for buyers. And well, for those importers, those other countries who want to buy wheat, they have the ability to lock in their prices as well. If they see something if they see a price that they would like to buy, they can certainly do that today for fall delivery, for delivery next spring, a year from now. It's a way of risk management for all parties.
So a little bit like using the stock exchange, if you will. I mean, that's what I always equate it to, is this is sort of our farming version of a stock exchange, if you will. Would that be accurate?
Well, yeah, and how terrifying for us as farmers to put something in the ground this spring and not know what price we're going to get in the fall. And we have seen huge price
Right.
movements in grain. And it's not that we ever sell 100% of our product. I mean, we're never going to sell what we completely expect to produce, but we certainly want to sell part of it and have some risk management so that we can protect ourselves on part of our production.
See, so what would you say to somebody that wants to try to keep that risk management as low, the risk as low as they can, and have the best chance of making the most money that they can on something they're growing? Say us, for example, when we put our crop in the ground, how should we go about it to help make sure that we get the most out of it that we can?
U.S. farmers are pretty lucky. We have crop insurance, and crop insurance is huge for risk management. That's something that a lot of other countries do not have. And I would say many farms would not be in business without crop insurance. Crop insurance allows us to get financing, to borrow, to buy our seed, to buy our fertilizer. The banks know that even if we produce 0 bushels, there will be a crop insurance indemnity paid. So crop insurance is number one. And then secondly, I preach risk management left and right. Now, do farmers listen? Well, that's another story. We always like to gamble. We want to sell every bushel at the high, and that is a risky proposition. And so I think, farmers by their trade are naturally risky. I mean, you can't be in farming if you're not willing to take risks. And so I try to push back a little bit and stress risk management.
And Betsy, we've got our wonderful blizzard and plenty of moisture. Now, if we do have potential flooding this year, and we always have flooding each year, but just depending on how bad it is, how would that affect the price of our crops?
Every Monday, actually, I think starting to yesterday maybe, USDA issues a crop progress and condition report. And so traders are going to be watching how much spring wheat has Minnesota planted. And there's going to be a goose egg in there for a very long time. And so the markets will be watching that. Wheat, in general, yields better the earlier you plant it. And last year was kind of an exception. We had a good year, even though we seeded late. And so it will be interesting to see how the market reacts when I don't know when we're going to be in the field. It's going to be a very slow season, and I would say the market's going to put some premium, try to convince farmers to not give up on wheat. Please plant wheat acres. We want you to put the wheat in the ground. And so that's the market's job, is to convince me to keep planting.
Sure, and by convincing you, that means raising the price, so it continually looks like it's an incentive for you, correct?
Correct, yes.
So looking again at last year with all the flooding in the Northern Valley, when that was ongoing and they were doing those progress reports and they're like, oh, Northern Valley, Northwest Minnesota, they're behind. Did that have a direct impact on the markets? And then it just kind of bounced back as we went through the year and they're like, oh, this crop's going to be fine. What was that initial period did that look like? And if we see flooding up here again, maybe to a similar magnitude in some spots in the Northern Valley, Northwest Minnesota, depending on how much rain we get into the spring, could we potentially see something similar to that playing out again?
Absolutely. There's a U of M has a professor, Ed Ussett, and he calls this the 2-2 season. It's too hot, it's too cold, we're too slow, we're too fast. And so we are in the 2-2 season. Where we are going to be too slow. And last year, if you think about the wheat market a year ago, we had the bombings in Ukraine. The war started in Ukraine. That shot prices higher. And then we had delays in seeding, which kept our prices high for quite a while. But the condition reports as the year went on showed a crop that actually looked pretty respectable. And so prices did, unfortunately, kind of move lower as we went into harvest.
So are people able to lock in at that peak price when it was going? They're like, oh, this price looks great. Can I lock in at that? And that's what I get to sell my crop for at the end of the year. Is that how that works?
Oh, you're such not a farmer, are you? Yes,
No,
that
not
is
at
how
all.
it works.
He does
That
online,
is how
though.
it works. I know. But every farmer wants another 50 cents, another quarter, another dollar. And so that's kind of what that's my job in risk management.
Same way with
I
stocks.
know I want another dollar too. Yes, I agree.
Right.
But this isn't a bad price. Like maybe we should, when the plate of cookies goes around the table, take one or two, right? I mean, before they're gone. And so we do try to stress risk management.
When I was learning how to invest money in the stock market, the biggest thing was you're in it for a piece of cake, not the whole cake. So you want some, but don't be greedy and try and take it all.
That's the same thing with crop marketing as well. And it's hard because I've done it. Let's say I sell wheat for $9, and by the time I deliver it, the elevator's posting 10. And so you are driving your truck to the elevator and your contract is 9, but the bid they have posted on their wall is 10, and you're kicking yourself. But there's plenty of times, I would say more often than not, that I deliver for 9 and the market says 7. So you just have to remember those times too.
There was one thing, I had to take a minimal amount of econ classes in college because they scared me a lot. I mean, you're talking to someone who barely balances her checkbook. But one thing I was taught was that oftentimes your non-farming spouse, so, your husband does most of the farming, but if you as the wife do the marketing you have less emotion tied to it. You haven't spent all the hours in the tractor, and you usually do a better job of marketing grain. Is that a good rule of thumb, Betsy, or is that completely out of whack?
No, I think it's a good rule of thumb. I don't know, like I thought women were the emotional ones, but when it comes to crop marketing, it's definitely guys. They are definitely the emotional ones that want the extra money. So I think you're better off if you can get a spouse involved, you'll come out ahead. Yes.
Well, and you said Justin's maybe not a farmer yet, but we're going to do everything we can to get him there by the end of this summer so that he can market
That's
our
so
grain and have a
exciting.
better handle on it. I'm sorry, it's just soybeans, Justin. I can't give you more right now. You're on your own.
No, it's okay. Farming Simulator and real farming are a little different.
Yeah. Yes, you'd say that.
Yes, they are. Yep.
Yeah, yes, they are.
Betsy, if there's one piece of advice that you give to every farmer who comes into your program, what would that piece of advice be?
So this is a big finance issue, and it has to deal with beginning farmers. And I tell my beginning farmers, someday you'll be worth $1 million and not have a dime to your name. And they always think I'm crazy. But so much of our farm is equity in land, equity in machinery. And so on paper, a farm might look amazing, but there's nothing in the checkbook. And so what I always stress to farms is cash, 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 cash. If you can find a way to keep cash on hand, that will be beneficial for you in the long run. And every guy looks at me like I'm crazy. And then 20 years down the road, they realize, oh my gosh, I think, yeah, she might have been right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to make a huge difference.
It does.
Right.
When
Well,
it
Betsy,
comes to
this is
being able to make decisions, that's what you want to do.
right. Well, this has been really interesting. I want to thank you for joining us and, sharing some of your experience and knowledge with us and as well as our listeners. And if anyone wants to follow up with this, maybe get in contact with you or get some answers to questions that they have, where could they go to get more information and maybe get a hold of you?
Yeah, so I am on the Northland College website. Bridget's put my Twitter handle up there. I can certainly answer messages over Twitter. Northland College has my contact information on there. And even if you don't want to work with me, I can get you in touch with somebody in North Dakota, somebody somewhere else in Minnesota. Even South Dakota has a farm management program. So we would love to put you in touch with someone like me somewhere in the States.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that. And we hope that your farm does well this upcoming year. And when we come back, we'll touch on a few more ag topics and get to all of your questions and the weather as well. But first, the American Ag Network.
Hey, it's Bonnie and Mastati from Bonnie and Friends. Join us weekday mornings beginning at 5. We'll be in the middle of a winter storm. When will it end? Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki will let us know. Dr. Alicia Wisniewski, Prairie Winds Veterinary Center, will join us to talk seasonal allergies in our pets. And licensed registered dietitian Elizabeth McGee will be along to answer our health, diet, and nutrition questions. All this and more on the next Bonnie and Friends beginning at 5 a.m. Join us.
How long is the warranty on your car repair? Hi, this is Matthew Carlson, owner of Fix It Ford Auto Care. Every qualified repair at any of our 3 Fargo, Moorhead, and West Fargo locations is now covered by our extended 5-year, 60,000-mile warranty. Yes, you heard that right. 5 years or 60,000 miles. Peace of mind, just one more reason to choose Fix It Forward Auto Care. Ask your service advisor for details. Fix It Forward Auto Care, the name you trust for car repair.
Fix It Forward Auto Care.
Hi, it's Lon from Irie Insurance. Soon we'll swap snow for summertime. Boat rides and water skiing, camping in the RV, swimming in the backyard pool, or even a few rounds of golf. Unfortunately, these activities come with increased risks and sadly, accidents happen. Having the proper insurance can protect you from theft, damage, liability, and more. Experience the Irie difference. Let Irie Insurance take care of your summer risks. To find a location near you, visit us at IrieInsurance.com.
Markets risk off at midday. This is the American Ag Network. I'm Jesse Allen with this market update. Talking now with Arlen Suderbit of StoneX. Arlen, markets have turned mostly risk off. Sounds like outside market pressures are the cause behind this? Walk us through what you're seeing in the trade here today.
We started off weaker in corn and soybeans because we have higher geopolitical risks now with China, with House Speaker Kevin McCarthy confirming that he will meet with Taiwan's president in California tomorrow, which is angering the Chinese, and some type of retribution is expected, further deteriorating that relationship with China, who's a major importer of U.S. corn and soybeans. So we saw a little profit taking, not really panic in that area, but profit taking after the recent sharp gains we had. Wheat was still higher on the lower than expected winter wheat ratings that came out. The first of the spring came out on Monday afternoon, and that provided good support. But otherwise, the markets were doing pretty well, and even losses in corn and soybeans were limited. That all changed at 9 o'clock Chicago time when the JOLTS job openings report indicated that 9.9 million job openings were posted at the end of February. That was 500,000 below trade analyst expectations, and shows us in the previous month was also declined by about 400,000. That was the first significant evidence that we've seen that the jobs market is starting to loosen, and factory orders were down more than expected as well, raising fears that we're headed to recession. And immediately money flow across the board changed, coming out of the commodities, coming out of the equities, moving into treasuries on expectations that the Fed will be pivoting at their next meeting. I don't know if they're going to be right, but that's the market's expectation for today is negative money flow. Wheat trying to hold on because of those lower crop ratings, though.
That's Arlen Suderman of StoneX on the American Ag Network.
Welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. 1:52 on this snowy afternoon. We'll touch on that forecast in here just a moment. And if you want to call in with a road report, if it's safe to do so, feel free to do so by calling us on the Red Wing Shoes phone line, 701-293-9000. That's where you can also call to ask any questions, and we will do our best to answer those for you. Guys, before we touch on that forecast, because I know there's quite a bit of impactful weather out there with a blizzard warning in effect and through Wednesday night, but let's talk another little ag topic here, Bridget. This is one, the Mixmate, and it's not a dating website.
Yeah, I might have put that in there just specifically for Dean. See, Dean goes away for a week, and Bridget's humor gets all risque.
It does. I like it.
So maybe we need to talk our farmer Jim into the fact that we need one of these on his spray trailer. But the Mixmate is actually a measuring device that is a closed handling system. So you can use a series of switches and valves on automation in order to fill your cone, your mixing cone, and then thus loading into your sprayer. What this does is improves your efficiency as well as your time spent loading. But the other thing it does is it syncs the information. So whatever you're doing with chemical, whatever volumes you're using, etc., it not only goes to the app on your phone, but then also can be sent to your laptop for all of your record keeping. So just like our guest Betsy was just talking about, you'd know what your inventory was per field, what you were using for herbicides, fertilizer, etc. And so that's kind of just the synopsis of what the Mixmate is. It was recently released.
Oh, that's kind of cool. That'll be come in handy, and it's a good thing we only have one field because we don't have to worry about doing it with every single field and keeping all the numbers straight. And we had an email commenter in here sent an email, says Dean's a farmer now. He can use farmers only. Just specify that there's a lake place on the property.
That's a must. Absolutely.
That's right. Oh my, there's going to be so many jokes all summer long about Dean's dating life and this farm. I can't hardly wait.
I'm not sure which is going to be more exciting. I'm afraid. I'm afraid.
Coming out. Dean, you're not the person on the TV show, are you?
Farmer needs a wife.
I forgot what it's called. Yeah, farmer needs a wife.
That'll be the new episode.
There's a lot of things that I explain in ag. I mean, yesterday I did a meeting using beer cans as a demonstration, but I don't think I'm doing any type of birds and the bees discussion, whether it's in soybeans or anywhere else. Just so you know, not my topic.
Oh man! Well, let's hit on the weather real quick. Let's spin off of this real quick.
Let's divert.
We had one of our listeners sent me a message on Facebook saying they're down in Fergus, and she said we're half pickle jar deep. She's got a pickle jar on top of her hot tub, and it's halfway up the pickle jar. So we've got half pickle deep of snow down in Fergus. And
how much snow do you have? Do you have a can, a pound? How much snow do you got? Do you need a 12-ounce can, a pounder, or a 40?
Yeah, right. Yeah. But
send her a rain gauge.
No kidding, that was classic. But we've got about 2 to 4 inches here from the FM area and down towards Hankinson, Wahpeton areas. Generally, about 2 to 4 inches of snow has fallen. It is snowing now. We have a extremely heavy snow band that is approaching the far. It's snowing hard right now in the FM area, but there's an even heavier band just to the south and east, moving northwestward. So it's snowing hard right now. We're going to even see more intense snow, and this is coming down at the rate of about an inch an hour. So we're going to see these heavy snow bands continue to pivot through. Now, again, I'm always looking for that bright spot. That the temperatures out there right now are right around the freezing mark, at least in the FM area, a little colder off to the north, and that is allowing the at least highway crews, the salt is working, all the chemicals they're putting on the road is working, still slippery and no travel advised, still south now of the FM area. I'm guessing that will be expanded northward as we head into the afternoon, and temperature, especially evening, temperatures get colder. Where's the wind with this system? We've got a blizzard warning, but yet blizzard criteria is not being met, at least in terms of wind. In terms of visibility, it sure is. We got about a quarter-mile visibility out there, but the winds have not materialized with this system yet, and it doesn't look like they will until after dark tonight. Now, that's a dual combination of a bad situation because temperatures will be dropping below freezing. We'll continue with these bands of heavy snow, and the winds will pick up. And that means conditions, I mean, they're bad now, but they're really going to tank it after dark tonight. So, again, if you have any errands to run, if you haven't had them done and you really need to get them done, I'd do it like right now because conditions are going to continue to deteriorate throughout the day and get even worse overnight. Guaranteed we'll have road closures overnight tonight and into the day tomorrow. And winds even tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll see the strongest winds with this storm, gusting at or just above 40. We were looking at possible gusts stronger than that. I don't think we'll get much above 40 to 45, but even with that, that is going to be enough to produce blizzard conditions all during the day tomorrow, even after the snow winds down after lunchtime. And again, I'm still thinking about 10 to 12 inches here in the valley, about up to 8 in Lakes Country, and just west of the valley, we're looking at 12 to 15 is a good bet. Now, we get caught under the banding of the snow, and that sticks around. We could have locally higher amounts even here in the valley, over a foot. But, yeah, this is a big storm, and this is... All I can say is thank goodness this didn't occur in February. We'd be digging out for numerous days. At least this, once that sun comes out later this week, that will help out quite a bit. And I'm looking at, looks like 29. Have they closed? No, they have not closed 29. But it looks like, yeah, travel not advised just south of the area.
They just closed I-29 southbound.
They did just close it. Okay, yep.
From, where is that?
Fargo
Christine.
South.
It's from Christine to the South Dakota border.
They did just,
I-29 southbound is closed. So we'll continue to see those road closures.
Right.
Lakes Country wants to know if they're getting 4 to 8 inches or a total of 48 inches because it's snowing pretty hard down there.
No, I know. I think they'll get up to 8. And again, there's going to be areas, taking a look at radar right now, yeah, it's snowing to beat the band out around DL, Barnesville area. So I would expect up to 8 inches out there. The 4 inches would be south of Fergus as you head towards Alex. But yeah, so we're already starting to see road closures. So please keep up to date on the forecast. If you don't have to travel, don't travel. Coming up next is Jay Thomas Show.
970 WDAY AM and 93.1 FM, Fargo-Moorhead.
Good afternoon. I'm Tom Tucker.